You don't discover your leadership maturity when things are just going right. You discover it in 30 seconds after a decision blindsides you. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hey, welcome. I am so glad that you made the choice to be here today. As always, I pick topics that are kind of close to my heart, and a lot of times it's because I have the personal experience, and this is definitely one. I have so many examples from my clients, but I thought today I'm going to share some of those walk of shame moments from my own experience. But before we jump in, I want to invite you, if you're navigating high stakes in your current role, I have a cohort that you should consider. The Career Level Up is specifically for professionals that want a like-minded cohort with me involved facilitating, but also just to share stories, trusted circle, and getting to really think about how do you control and accelerate your development in whatever role in any career stage that you're in. This is really for leaders who have been leaders, and it's such a great opportunity. I get fantastic feedback, and people, especially women that are in it, have really enjoyed the camaraderie, but also the outcomes that are significant after the about 6 months of the program. So if you want to learn more, go to negotiationlove.com. There's a button there that you can find out more about the Career Level Up program. So let's just jump in right now, right away. You go to a meeting and you're prepared, you're aligned, you believe that you have anticipated all the needs of the room, and then all of a sudden the decision goes in a different direction, something that you had not expected, and you become defensive, you become frustrated. And it's not that you are not without the ability to change that. Your brain is actually by design working against you. And so why I got really excited about this, I'd read this research because I use this in the program that I teach, the workshop on emotional agility. And I talk about this a lot in many sessions and keynoting that I do about how important it is for us to consider the research around what happens to our brains in different situations. And why this matters is because we go from meeting to meeting, situation to situation, and sometimes we just need to get through. And sometimes when things get intense, that is what our just natural tendency is, to go get mad, get frustrated, and then stomp out of the room. And that doesn't work for us always. Again, I'm going to share some of my very personal stories. But our brain is consistently forecasting what is happening next. That's why it's so important for us to prepare for the high stakes moments because of this research, because it's really important, because we are not always in control with the chemical changes that happen in our brains. When reality doesn't match our forecast, the brain registers that mismatch as a violation. Research shows that unexpected outcomes trigger this surge of this chemical. I'm not going to say the name of it because it's a really long word. And if you've been with me long enough, you know that those words are not easy for me to pronounce. But it is a part of your brain. This chemical is just like, it surges out and it sends this alert. And its job is to interrupt what you're doing to reorient your attention. It's like a survival setting, and it's actually brilliant. When you think about why you have that, think about walking in the woods and all of a sudden you come across a bear or something unexpected and it scares you. This chemical allows your brain to just interrupt everything else that's going on so that you can react to what is happening in front of you. So it changes your ability to think through what you're dealing with. It takes away from your really executive control. So it's good in the woods. It's not even always good in the boardroom. In fact, it's not good in the boardroom because if you don't practice emotional agility on a regular basis, this is going to get you. And it doesn't allow you to stay calm. It doesn't allow you to stay objective. And when you think about emotional intelligence research on top of this, Daniel Goleman popularized the concept of amygdala. If you've been with me, you know that you're really proud of me now. This is the front part of your brain, amygdala. It's hijacking that part of your brain when the emotional center of the brain overrides the rational center. Blood flow literally shifts away from the strategic reasoning in your brain. And what's even more interesting, that in a researcher from UCLA, he's a neuroscientist, Matthew Lieberman, shows that social pain, like rejection, exclusion, being overruled, activates similar neural pathways, the same ones as physical pain. So when your idea is dismissed or a decision goes a different way, your brain doesn't treat it as neutral data, right? Your brain is treating it like an injury. You're injured. What happens when you're injured? You lose your ability to just even cope, right? It's really true. And then add on to top of it, I know I'm adding insult to injury, literally, is that you have a negativity bias. We naturally weigh negative events heavier than positive ones. We have an expectation violation effect. When outcomes differ from what we expected, that increases our emotional intensity. And then the ego threat response is when we identified, we feel challenged, we get more defensive. So when you're blindsided, you may feel like a literal physical response, like heat in your chest, tightness in your throat, an urgency just to respond, almost physical discomfort. It's not weakness, it's wiring. That's why this is so important. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The psychologist Susan David, I love her name, defines emotional agility as the ability to experience thoughts and emotions without being dominated. So you still experience them, but you don't allow them to dominate you. And even if you're not prepared in the moment, having this muscle that you're like, all right, this is a high stakes situation. That's what I mean about this. Being able to identify that you're in this moment where you aren't thinking straight. Surprise is the one that we're most triggered by. And this research shows that it's because our brain literally stops our cognitive ability in the moment. So when you get that sense of, I can't think all of a sudden, I lost my train of thought, that is real. That's real because that's your brain giving you a space to focus on what's in front of you. And we don't want to just change that focus into that. We don't want to look at it as a threat. We want to really think about what do we need to do differently. So I remember so many. I thought of two stories that were not, well, oh my gosh, these are not moments that I'm proud of. I flew to LA. We had another part of our business that was in LA, and there was my peer that was there, and we were kind of butting heads on some issues related to our clients. So my boss came out with me. Now, the person that's my peer doesn't have the same boss. And so my perception and my assumption was, I told my boss everything that was going on. I figured she'd have my back. I didn't need to be overly prepared, but he and I just didn't agree how the teams needed to resolve some issues. What she didn't know, and I didn't tell her because I didn't want to throw him under the bus, is people don't like working with him because he doesn't call people back. He wasn't a team player. He's always taking credit for everything. So everybody on the Denver side, from my peers over there, understand what it's like to deal with him. But of course, my boss didn't know that he picks his moments and he shines, he manages up really well. Okay. So I wanted to give you that background as well. So we fly to LA. I'm thinking that we're going to have this discussion and my boss is going to completely support me. Well, we were going back and forth and she was asking questions and she started taking his side. And I was so frustrated. I started going tit for tat against him because I was trying to make my point. And I got more and more frustrated. My voice started to rise. I was throwing out a few barbs that my boss didn't understand, like she didn't have any context around, that might have been strong had they not been so personal to the guy that was on the other side. And I'll never forget that definitely lost. He definitely won, walked away. He stayed very calm. He knew kind of the politics. He had thought this through, and he was on guard because his boss wasn't there, and he had the ability to say whatever he wanted to because his boss wasn't there. Of course, I'm telling the story from a very biased view because I was very frustrated. But the point here is I lost the battle because I got very emotional. I got frustrated. I got defensive. I got angry. I got childish. She had to talk to me after that. And I'll tell you, I didn't have very many conversations like that with my boss. I felt like a 5-year-old. I just felt like a very immature executive because even during that, I was so mad at her for taking his side, but I hadn't prepared. I hadn't thought about what was going on. I've thought about that so many times about I should have kept my cool. Even if I would have paused more, even if I would have been able to listen to him and show that I was listening, asking more questions. Oh, interesting. Why don't you tell my boss a little bit more about that situation? That would have given me a little bit more leeway to make a good choice. The other example that I will never forget was with a client that I had a great relationship with. And I went to the meeting thinking that it was just a check-in call. And what I didn't realize in the moment, and I hadn't thought about what the expectation was from the client, they wanted answers. And when we got on the call and I didn't have answers, I'll never forget, his name is Jeff. He was always really nice. I'd known him for years, and he got so mad at me when he realized I didn't have answers. He started yelling at me. I'm not saying that this was the right response, and maybe he wasn't really yelling, but he was such a different personality than I was used to seeing that my memory of it was that he just lost it. I was embarrassed. I was surprised. I mean, I wasn't able to react or respond at all because of his emotion. If I had thought, and I always talk about this on this show, if you can think about the interests of the other party for 30 seconds before you walk in, you're more available to their perspective. Had I done that, and had I even just anticipated that his expectation for the meeting was different, I probably wouldn't have been as blindsided. I wouldn't have had the answers that he needed, but I would not have been flat-footed. I was just silent because I was so unexpected. So it's real. It's real, and it could happen at any time. I didn't anticipate that I'd need agility in those moments. Those didn't even feel high stakes for me going in. Maybe the one in LA was a little more high stakes, but I have learned so much more about how to handle a situation when I know that I'm frustrated by somebody, I don't get along with somebody, I don't trust them. That is a high stakes situation that you need to be prepared for, because when that happens, your tone can sharpen, you can get frustrated, you can get defensive, and things won't go the way you need it to. I really think about that alignment. I think about how do I predict how I'm going into a situation, and even being able to anticipate the politics that are going on. So often, people's reaction to us are based on their reality. It could be politics. It could be, when I think back on Jeff, my client, the reason he was so frustrated with me that I didn't know until much later is the meeting after my meeting when he needed the answers, he was meeting with his senior staff to get the approval to move forward with us. And so that's why he was frustrated. He had a dependency that was based on me delivering, and I didn't deliver. So we don't always see the view from our perspective. We shouldn't. We should look at it from a lot of different ways. So let me give you 3 tips to really think about as you move through the next 3 days. Remember, 72 hours if this is just entertainment, or if you really want to take action and have this be meaningful or helpful to you, take action. What are you going to do? Even if it's not high stakes, how are you going to anticipate so that you can be ready in the moment? The first tip is if you run into a situation that is going unexpectedly, just being able to identify, okay, wow, this was unexpected for me. I can feel that surge of emotions. Now I know from listening to Susie that this is a chemical reaction in my brain. I need to get objective. Just being able to hear that, slow yourself down, take a breath. The first thing you want to do is to try to manage your body. So being able to have your brain go, okay, high stakes moment. There's that bear that just jumped out. Take a deep breath and then run. No, take a deep breath and think about what you're going to do next. The second thing is, how can you just ask for more clarification? Sometimes if somebody's getting frustrated or somebody gives us something that is unexpected or a decision that we don't like, how can you get more information before you get defensive? You could even say, hey, I didn't expect you to respond this way, or I was thinking that we would go down this path. So I want to really think about and understand it from your perspective. Can you tell me more? That can be a really easy way. Tell me more. Can you give me an example? So have these really easy questions, even if they don't quite fit, even if it makes you look like you should know that answer, asking that can allow you to kind of get your footing, to be able to calm yourself down, to be able to do what's next. And then if you need to, it's okay to say, hey, I need some thinking time. I want to process this. The answer you're giving me is really unexpected. Do you mind if I just take a half hour? Or can you just give me 5 minutes? I'm just going to go out and grab a drink real quick and just kind of think about how to continue this discussion. If they don't respect you for that, because you don't have to blame it on the fact that you haven't had the right response or reaction. You can blame it on, I just need time to process and think. So give yourself some time. Even like write it down, say, hey, let me get this clear. Can you repeat that again? That's another thing to ask for. Kind of write it down and go, that's unexpected. If you need more information, say, hey, can I come back to you? Make sure you set dates though. If you're going to say, let's get back to this conversation, the best thing to do is just take a break and think about what you need to do next. I think the big part here, so the first one is to identify you're in a high stakes moment. Second is, how do you get your kind of bearings? Ask a question. And then the third is to give yourself time if you need it. Think about how do you reset yourself so you can be as objective as possible. Listen, people want to make good decisions, sound decisions. And when the other person is emotional, you want to give them that opportunity to calm themselves down, because people do not think objectively on either side when people are emotional. So when you identify that and say, you know what, I'm feeling just a little bit off. I need more time to think about this. It's okay. Get used to that and doing that, especially when you're sitting in front of somebody that you have a great relationship and is trusted. Start there. This is so important in leadership. This is so vital for leaders to really show this emotional agility to your teams. How can you stay agile in the moment? It's really important to prepare. It's about identifying that signal and when you are triggered, and then practicing these responses, these reactions, and then journal about it after you've had one of those triggering moments. Learn from it. That's the best way you're going to build that muscle, so the next time you're not so surprised by the response that your body has. So think about this. Watch for the next 72 hours, the next 3 days. The next time you feel blindsided, it could be the smallest thing. Somebody asks you to change the location of lunch. It could be something that you thought they were going to tell you yes to this and they tell you no. Think about the moment and watch for it. Just see what happens in the next 72 hours. See what happens to your body. See what physical responses come up. When you start to really think about those immediate responses that are uniquely you. Those can be the first signal that you're entering into a situation that is high stakes and your ability to think it through is being hampered. Let me say that again. And your ability to think it through is not objective, and you need to take a pause. I'm so glad you were here. I would love to hear your story. Go to negotiationlove.com. There's a place there you can share with me. You can email me. I love to hear your stories. And if you have something that's related to this or something else, tell me what you want me to talk about. Tell me what you're challenged with, the smallest thing to the biggest challenge that you see, whatever is really top of mind for you. You would be surprised how many others share the same experience and would benefit from knowing that they're not alone. So share with me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you know somebody that needs to hear about emotional agility and the fascinating research around this, share this episode with them. And always remember that negotiation is more than a skill. It's definitely a mindset. Until next time, I'm Susie. I'm glad you made this a priority for yourself today.